What is up there, everybody? Citrus Aviation here for yet another video. Today, I'm going to tell you what the worst model airplane of 2022 is. So I have been looking for the worst model airplane, and actually this one is an aircraft I covered in a Model Aircraft News monthly episode a couple months ago. And it is this puppy right here, the Air Lingus ATR-72-600 in 400 scale by Gemini Jets. Now, you might be like, well, it's just a little regional jet. What could be so wrong about it? Well, I'm going to show you here on today's video what makes this model such a disgrace to the hobby. And so I bought this model because I had heard some things about it. I'd seen some pictures about it. I was like, okay, let's check out. Let's see how good or bad it is. And if it isn't any good, that's fine. I can turn it into a custom. Because I do need a Finnair ATR-72-600 for an airport I'm working on. So this would make a great custom platform if I was to do that. So I got the model to see how good or bad it is. And boys, it's disappointing. So first you unbox the model, and it comes in Gemini Jets' typical small regional packaging. It's nothing special. It's perfectly good enough to service packaging the model. And then you get the model out and you take a look at it and you're like, ooh, okay, we got something. So overall, the ATR mold for Gemini Jets isn't terrible. It's not awful. In fact, the wings are actually pretty nice. The engines are cool. They're actually really neat how small they are and how detailed they are. And the fan blades spin, which is nice to see that there are fan blades on this model that spin. So that's cool to see. It's good to see that. However, the model has a couple of what you might call issues that provided some, let's just consider it a controversy when people go online to forums and want to talk about it. So when you take a look at the model, you very quickly notice there's a little bit of some issues up front. First off, the nose is flattened, like literally flattened from the top of the nose area right behind the windscreen, and it goes at a straight angle down towards the nose cone. This is not accurate on the actual ATR. There's the rake down to the window, and then there is a different angle for a radar nose cone, which is shaped like a radar nose cone, kind of a roundish shape. Not a flat line going straight to the nose cone, to the point of it up front. So that's all automatically an issue for it, and some points taken off. The next issue that I noticed was that the cockpit windows are crooked. Now, of course, if you take a look at pictures online, you'll have seen this with the pictures that you might have seen. It's a little bit off, and that happens to be the case with this model that I have here. It definitely looks like the windows are angry. It's sort of the look of it, and so that's definitely an issue that's off on the model. Next up, we got the nose gear and the gears themselves. Every single wheel on this model is crooked. There's not a single one that's straight. Every single one is off in some weird way. They do roll. Somehow these wheels still roll. They don't roll very well because they're all crooked and such, and they're really stiff. But they do all still roll, but every single wheel is crooked in a certain way. You can see from these fairly low quality iPhone videos I got, because I had to zoom in a lot to get them. But you can see they're all off, every single one. And the nose gear doors are also all crooked. And it's just such a disgrace looking at this model, because like, you look at it initially and you're like, oh, okay, we have something here, maybe it's not terrible. But then you look close and you see the issues. In addition, one of my subscribers noted when I posted these pictures on my Discord that there are some issues with the paint on the blades. They're kind of smudgy. So have to take points off for that when I do the Citrus Caliber score. Mold gets a 9 because overall it's a pretty solid mold except for the nose shape, which is incorrect. Accuracy, here we get to the fun one, or one of the fun ones. This model takes several points for accuracy, -1 for the incorrect cockpit window, -1 for the nose gear door being extended too far. That is way too big for an ATR nose gear door. -3 points, 1 each for each crooked gear. And then -2 for the nose shape. So that gets us a total score of an accuracy of 3 out of 10. The worst I've ever given to any model. Now maybe overall accuracy it's not the worst ever, but there are a lot of little issues with this model, and so it definitely puts itself really way far down there in the rankings of the Gemini Airbus 320 series, and of course the CRJ 900 that were really bad that they made. And this one's actually the worst. So congratulations, Gemini. You make the worst accurate model I've ever seen. Paint gets an 8 out of 10. Overall, Gemini Jets print quality is outstanding. However, the blurry prop tips, which are supposed to be painted yellow, That's a point deducted, as well as the lack of detail on this model. You take a look at it and you're like, there's no beacon lights on it, there's no antennas on it, there's very little painted. I think maybe there's one antenna painted on the other side. Yeah, there's one painted on the other side. And there's the NACA ducts are painted. That's literally it. No other aerials or details are painted on there at all. Gear gets -3 points for the crooked gears and an additional -3 points for each of the crooked gear doors. That gives a final score of 4 out of 10, one of the worst I've ever given out. This model has so few aerials, it might as well be an Aero Classics model. Even the Aero Classics model has at least a beacon light on it. Like, there's no beacon lights, there's literally one antenna painted, there's the NACA ducts, that's it. No antennas, no beacon lights, nothing. So this model gets slapped with a 3 out of 10, the worst score I've ever given for aerials. There's no 3D printed aerials, none painted, so you get a poor score there for that. Actually, I'm just realizing now there is actually a 3D beacon light on the bottom side. I assume the other 3D beacon light is supposed to be on top of the horizontal stabilizer, so I'll give it 1 point back, so it'll get a 4 out of 10. There you go, you get a 4 out of 10. Features. Well, it has rolling gear. That's about it. No stand hole either. Wing and engine, this actually gets a 9 out of 10. It's actually fairly decent overall. The only thing I can take away from it is the one-piece wing, which is not ideal. The slotted wings are generally better. This one-piece wing doesn't look too terrible, so just 1 point deducted for that. Overall, the wing and engine assembly on this model is quite nice. And then we have the quality score. Oh, this one is a fun one. This model now gets the worst quality score I've ever given out to any model. It takes 6 points deducted for each of the crooked wheels. 1 point deducted for the incorrect nose shape. It looks like maybe it was just over polished, but even still, 1 point deducted for that. And 1 point deducted for the crooked cockpit windows. So we are looking at a quality score of 2 out of 10, the worst I've ever given to any model aircraft. Finally, we have collectability. This gets an 8 out of 10, just simply because they've made this model before. This is the second release of this aircraft in this livery. So they've made an ATR as well in the previous livery as well, but that was the previous livery. So they've made this one before, so it gets an 8 out of 10. I don't know how many people are really looking for an Aer Lingus ATR, but if you are, you had the chance to get the last one. So this one, which is, I presume, worse than the last one, is not the one you should be going after if you're looking for an Aer Lingus ATR 72-600. There we have it. The worst model airplane made in 2022. What do you think the worst model airplane made this year was? I know there have been some great contenders for this category. There was, of course, the Loganair Saab 340 with the 200 scale nose gear wheel on it. That was hilarious. That one could have been in here, but outside the nose gear wheel, I wasn't aware of that many issues. This one has a lot of little issues. So the final score for this model is a 59 out of 100. This is the worst score I've ever given to a model aircraft. 59 out of 100. This is straight scrap metal territory, and generally not a model that I'd recommend. I probably will end up turning this into a Finnair custom. So let me know what your least favorite models are, and I'd love to talk about it because that'll be a fun conversation. So that's it for this video. This is the last video of 2022 for my channel. I want to thank you all so much for the great year, for the huge amount of growth we had this year. I'll talk about that more in the first video of 2023. But thank you all so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day, and God bless you.